Hello everyone, this is Sensei Starman and welcome back to Let's Play Fallout New California.
Hey, have you seen my programmer's digest lying around? I hope you didn't read it, but it would explain why it disappeared.
Yeah, I just had to let that interruption go by. Anyway, last time we got the Tier 1 and Tier 2 systems updated on Maria. We also read Kira's log about different things she's been investigating, including her parents' disappearance. And she gave us a quest to let us know, hey, if you find anything in the Tier 2 files, let me know. And I stopped before we started digging into the Tier 2 files, but first...
Yeah, kid, what is it? Haven't found yourself in trouble again, have you?
Well, no, but I can let the doctor know.
Wow, I have to admit, I could have done it years ago, but I just didn't give a shit. What did you find?
10-volt history reports from the weeks after the Great War.
Ah, now that's something worth looking into. I don't need an essay or anything. I trust you've learned enough. Now go on. You had a tough day. Now you should just go off to bed now. And don't let those death crawls get you from under the bed.
Now, it is pushing you to go to bed and end prologue, but we're not doing that just yet. Not even close, because there are a ton of subquests beyond getting the 4 tiers of Maria unlocked. And in fact, since we got one now, we can ask for another quest.
Yep. Now that you mention it, I'll let you head up to the main elevator and check out the robotics lab upstairs. Just drop my name at the guard and he'll let you in. It's dark up there. We keep the upstairs reactors offline to save power, so just follow the signs to the main entrance. You'll find the robotics lab at the end of the hall. Last door on your right before you reach the vault exit.
And we can also, if we're having issues with getting everything set up, Doc, these terminals are way above my experience level. What should I do?
Ah, well. You probably should have thought about that at the beginning. It's no problem, kid. You don't have to grow up overnight. If you look around, I'm sure there are some science textbooks and magazines laying around.
Yeah, there are in fact several of those lying around, including that programmer's guide, which you may have overheard him asking about. Well, this one's a bit tricky to overlook, but it's on Kira's desk. But before we get to the Tier 2 files, there is one other quest. Beyond that, yeah, I did not go running around picking up everything on the counter here. There's a bunch of $5 ration tickets. And I did grab a few earlier, but there is one thing I did not pick up. And it's this maintenance request, which will unlock another quest, the brew that is true. And this one's a bit tricksy. You have to actually go into your data under miscellaneous. But in this case, it's maintenance request, device system, cafeteria, coffee machine, issue not working. On the overseer's last breath, would somebody please fix the damn coffee machine in the cafeteria? It's bad enough Chevy's got us pulling all-nighters guarding the vault, but we can't do this without coffee. Please just fix it. There's a signature, but the intonation and violence of its offering make it impossible to figure out. Now, we have not seen a coffee machine here. That's because this is not the cafeteria. And checking the map will reveal that it is in fact the cafeteria in the upper apartments. Yes, they get their own eating area up there.
You got the... Bragg's an asshole, right? It's not just me. Somebody must have noticed.
And yeah, we cannot actually fix his Pip-Boy. At least not as far as I was aware, but yeah. Check this out, fancy schmancy. Now, we can't get into most of these doors, obviously.
Hey.
We can talk to Eric. And the only one of these apartments we can get into is this one, which has a rather nice mural. But there's nothing in there apart from some clothing, so But there is one thing we do want to pick up while we're here. And again, there's a very hard door, but there's a Grognar the Barbarian comic here in the area with a pool. And yes, they have a water polo arena. Go figure. But our chief concern is the cafeteria right here. We can grab some mugs, some Coca-Cola, or Nuka-Cola, and there is a busted coffee machine. And it says the intense heat and pressure of fusion-powered coffee brewing has several damaged components of his Coffee King 3000. You could attempt an in-place overhaul, requires repair of 40 or higher, or repair the coffee maker with spare parts from another machine, requires repair of 20, or you could just leave it alone, and we get the option to leave it alone. Well, I think we might have something that'll help us out here, because we do have a couple of items that I haven't messed with yet that do permanently boost your skills. In this case, a copy of Dean's Electronics, but we've also got these two Grognak the Barbarian comics, which increase melee by 4, and melee by another 4. And just to scroll through the whole rest of it, also got a Nuka-Cola, or Nuka Girl issue 1, which increases by energy weapons, and a Programmer's Digest, which we're going to save, because that's a temporary item. Same thing with Tales of Chivalry and Le Fantoma. So that's plus 10 to melee, plus 10 to stealth. And we're definitely going to save that science one for later. But just like that, boom. Science is now 44. Not quite high enough to do those 50 hack terminals, but our repair is 43. And if you are so inclined to go and get the spare parts, remember that coffee machine that we found in the administrator's office when we were poking around earlier? I'm going to do a quick save here, just in case I fail the 80% chance. Succeed! You diligently scrape out the corrosion, disassemble and repair the brew head, and straighten the steam wand. Good as new. Tinkering with the innards of the coffee machine gives you new insight into the mechanics of brewing, which not only completes the quest, but it also gives us wasteland coffee recipes.
There. You look like you're keeping busy. Keep up the good work. How come I've never seen you around here before? This vault isn't that big.
One of the great mysteries of the RPG. Yeah, scrawled on notes, temperature, pressure, and timing. Makeshift recipe for the perfect wasteland coffee. Okay, so still got fix the old computer. I'll rest a for you. And wait, we have robots? So we'll go ahead and check out the Tier 2 files. Now we got the coffee machine fixed.
Hey there. You sure look like you're keeping busy. Keep up the good work.
The recognition is nice.
Yeah, kid. What is...
And just thought I'd see if you had anything to say about getting the coffee machine fixed. Alright, so... Alright, Tier 2.
Not, wasting time or anything.
Terminal 1. Let's see, San Bernardino Scout Reports, Part 1, starts out with Sergeant Danvers. After everything we've been through in the past 4 months, Overseer Clint Dixon has ordered an immediate evacuation of the cave exit beyond the vault door. or evaluation of the cave exit beyond the vault door. Vault-Tec standard orders have been to keep the door shut for a minimum of 80 years, and a series of hard locks and chemical timers have been set in place to prevent override of those controls. No matter what Dixon orders us to do, there's no way any of us are getting through that door. I've always tried to be a good man. I served 15 years with the LAPD before I agreed to join Vault-Tec's MP program in the San Bernardino Valley. I fought in the Gobi before that. I know this isn't a place for personal reflections, but what I've watched in the past few months has made me question who I am as a human being and a law officer. We overthrew Clarence Dovnick, thinking he was the man that tried to have us killed, only to find out that he was really the man who saved us. Not until it was too late, and he was killed by forced cyanide pill, by whom we may never know. When Dixon left us as guard chief and became the new overseer, he made me the head of scout missions to the outside. But even after total reversal of Vault-Tec orders, that door is locked, and the only scouting I have to do is of my own soul. It's been a little more than 20 years since I last updated this archive. There hasn't been any need. The door is still frozen in place like it has been through a half-dozen overseers and years of arguing. No matter what, I know that I will die waiting for the day I see the outside again, through anything but that tiny security camera, watching the darkness of the cavern. Sergeant Danvers signing off. Okay, so there's Terminal 1, Terminal 2, Sergeant Danvers again. Wow, this is the best Christmas of all time ever. After 80 years, the doors are finally opening. Oh, actually, that should have been... Yeah, it was Sergeant Danvers III. Anyway, best Christmas ever, blah, blah, blah. After 80 years, the doors are finally opening. A bunch of us got together and started planning our intended destinations. My granddad used to tell stories about the world outside. Now it's finally here. I can't wait to go visit Big Bear Lake in Pine Haven. Apparently, they're really nice places. Green trees, big pools of water, tons of tasty fish. Granddad always wondered what would be left, and Dad told me that the people were bound to be rebuilding everything by now. Before Granddad died, I told him I'd look up at the stars for him. First step I take out of the cave, and I'm going to do just that tonight. Then we have Acting Sergeant Elias. A couple days later. This is Acting Sergeant Elias reporting back from Scouting Mission 0. Most of our party was lost on Day 3 as we scouted the ruins of the Big Bear Bridge. We encountered a band of heavily armed men who surrounded and disarmed us with flash grenades. At some point between my being rendered unconscious and reawakening, Officer Jackson and Sergeant Danvers commenced fired on the hostile assailants, but were quickly dispatched. Officer Travers and I managed to escape to the tree line, but Travers was gunned down as we crossed the river. I was grazed in the left shoulder and left for dead. They stripped me of my uniform and weapons and left me on the shore. A woman from a colony of slaves awoke me some hours later and escorted me to the vault door. We brought her into custody, and I enjoyed an extended stay in our infirmary. Then, 3 days later, Sergeant Elias. Guess the promotion took. The roads leading from Vault 18 to Pine Haven are mostly intact and clear of major debris. There's a crater leading to the old military base, presumably from an atomic weapon. Pine Haven itself is utterly destroyed, save for a few central buildings. There are signs of animal life, but none that we could see or recognize. There is no green foliage. There are cars on either side of the road for hundreds of miles, many of which seem to have been moved and stripped of usable parts. There's no visible sign of a restored United States. It appears the entire continent was completely destroyed by the war 80 years ago and has remained in a state of decay ever since. The woman we saved, Orica, is a slave from a city several miles away called Union City. She speaks Southern English, has good manners, and has provided us with descriptions of a survivalist ruling party which conquered them several decades ago. Something about the mining operation at Athintech having been used as a staging area for this army of isolationists. This military operation is likely well aware of us now, so future missions along Highway 173 are ill-advised. She warned us of another danger, a mutant horde along Highway 18, but she is too ashamed to speak of them. We are planning several new scouting missions and an entire training regiment for new recruits. Okay, so there's Tier 2. Tier 3, or Terminal 3. Got Dr. Rogers. This is the 100th successful scouting mission launched from Vault 18, a proud moment. This morning, the two of myself, Cara, my wife, and our granddaughter Sarah had a picnic outside in the grass. It's growing nicely this spring. I remember when it didn't grow at all. How lovely. Some scouting mission. But a week later, Since there are 1,306 of us currently living in Vault 18, it is greatly satisfying to report that I found several locations scattered around the Crestline Valley and the Angeles Heights fit for colonization. There is an NCR settlement to the far south past the char of the San Bernardino Valley, leading toward the Sequoia Zone that will serve as primary colony targets. I've spoken with several NCR representatives about the best possible locations, and they assure me that staying clear of our immediate area is essential. Then again, none of them have ever traveled I-15 like I have, nor care to from what I'm told. Tandy has no interest in this area, not yet. To be sure, we have begun teaching our children the game in which they forget Vault 18's location and name. If they remember, they lose the game. It's become a sport among them. If we are ever tempted to reveal where the vault is, it will be an easy resistance because we simply will not know. And clicked on that one too soon. There have been several tectonic shifts I believe are precursors to a much larger event. We are sitting just a few miles east of the San Andreas Vault. It runs right through the valley beneath Fintech. While we are sure that Vault 18 will survive the biggest quake imaginable, I'm loath to believe 140-year-old predictions. The cement shell has been curing for that amount of time, and good engineering will require reassessment of densities across the whole shell and the shock threshold of their supports. At the very least, we're looking at a situation where we will be digging our way out of the cavern. I'm suggesting that the colony attempt hasten and we leave sooner. They're calling us exodites in the vault. Maybe we are exiles, but in my heart I know there's hundreds like me, and that we belong out there in the world among the tribes. Okay, Terminal 4. Got a Sergeant Norman. Scouting Report 202. There have been rumors of Brotherhood of Steel scouts passing in the area near Vault 18. It was said that they'd established a camp nearby, searching for pre-war locations in the mountains near us. We've encountered the Brotherhood several times in our various adventures. Yeti has several scars to tell the tale, but in case we have a new student reading these logs, let me tell you a bit about them. The Brotherhood of Steel formed from what was left of the United States Army over a century ago. They were once a huge organization, but now they're essentially a loose band of raiders. Their motto of late is, "We're the only salvation this tortured planet and its people have. Without us, humanity is sure to perish." That should give you an idea of what they're like. Relatively little is known about the early years of the Brotherhood of Steel, but they acquired a ton of power armor from when they were still army men, and have taken to treating themselves like ancient knights of the Round Table. Odds are you've never read about that in the Vault Library. Go look it up. It'll make sense after that. Even after they got their own King Arthur by the name of Maxon, yes, it's in that Maxon, don't know if he was the dumbass who led the Brotherhood into its grave, Jeremy in a past life, but my money's on Boss Maxon being some black sheep's second cousin they could quietly punt off on the Council of Elders. Brotherhood's too stuck in the mud of tradition. Odds are that old man Jeremy could piss on the BOS cog and they'd still follow him off a cliff. They tend to be shy. They scour the waste for technology, building up some kind of storehouse meant to enrich humanity, or so they say. Really, it just enriches them. They'll take anything you have and strip you down, leave you dead if they see something they like, especially if you're lesser people. This bad habit got them in a war with the new California Republic. With their superior technology, the Brotherhood managed to give the NCR a good smack, even coming close to winning that war. But the Brotherhood's technological advantage was nothing compared to the sheer volume of the NCR military. The Brotherhood was isolated, undermanned. They froze themselves to death. The NCR kicked their ass and took everything they could get their hands on. We were part of that war in several places, basically starting it. The Wasteland Scouts derailed several Brotherhood attempts to ransack Vault 18, kept them chasing their tails, and eventually used their technology to turn them against the NCR. When they weren't paying any attention, we had our friends in the NCR get a gander of their storehouse. After that, the greedy NCR politicians were salivating. War ensued. We'll check up on this and update the logs. And then update. Fortunately, rumors have proven to be false. There's nothing in the area that would indicate BOS presence, apart from an outcast located in Union City, specifically Old Doc Marius. Crazy sci-fi bastard was trying to impress Dr. Kyoto with his shiny suit of power armor. Crazy lovebirds. I reprimanded her for fraternizing with the locals and not informing us. And Sergeant Norman, Report 189. And this apparently has triggered Kira's quest. While on our routine patrol, we crossed an old Vault 18 exile settlement in the region about 30 clicks from Union City. The place was a mess, demolished and abandoned, showing marks of a fight that must have took place some hours ago. Inhabitants were caught by surprise, probably in a force that was superior in numbers. There wasn't much sign of a firefight, no corpses were found. It seems the aggressors sacked the settlement in a hurry, destroying what they couldn't take, and left with everyone dead or alive. Careful inspection allowed us to discover a hidden nook behind one of the houses. Survivors were found inside, just infants and toddlers, all in the age between 2 and 4 approximately. They were wearing exodite marks. 4 of them had little blue pentagrams painted on their bodies in various places, seeming to indicate a family name. They were terrified. 2 of the kids, Jamie and Eric, the oldest of the bunch, told us that demons took their parents and left them behind. They were too scared to even talk about it. They said that the demon woman hid the 4 with the tattoos in the nook. As soon as we got them out of that hole, it was like they just forgot it ever happened. They've been quiet on the subject ever since. Unfortunately, no further tracks were found. We were unable to determine what happened to the inhabitants. Settlement was small, and my bet is that someone sold info on them to a passing slave caravan. The goddamn survivalists probably were involved in the process. They've been taking slaves left and right ever since Elsdragon took over after Rossman killed his leader, Boss Maxon. With the NCR pushing into the region, getting ready to liquidate the Enclave holdouts north of here, we have to be especially cautious. The NCR is winning the war with the Brotherhood, but just barely. They're on hard economic times, they're destroying tribes, wiping out whole civilizations, tearing apart towns, going back generations. It's like they're trying to turn the entire California wasteland into a farm for taxes and soldiers. After we blew up the ethanol reserves at Athens Tech, they've been on a campaign to absorb every last raider tribe from Washington to Texas. They were a ragtag organization just 80 years ago. Now they're turning into a war machine. The NCR keeps pushing around raiders like dirt on a wet floor, and that dirt is starting to run off into the gutter of Athens Tech Mine. Rossman petitioned the overseer and the council, which ordered an emergency session to admit the orphan children as vault residents. These kids are our ancestors' blood. They're us. They may be dirty, starved, and terrified, but they're us. We're immediately rushing back out to scout the other 6 villages. If the raiders are trying to take revenge on our tribes, we need to know. But I get the feeling this isn't just a revenge thing or a desperate grab for manpower. I think someone or something is targeting our tribes to bait us. And Dr. Kevin Rossman, Scouting Report 193. We found the remaining Exodite tribes, number 6 and 7. They've been destroyed along with the others. This time we were too late. The children there were dead, likely from starvation. The scouts blame themselves. Truth is, I blame myself. This isn't the place for self-reflection, but it's my duty to report my failure. As lead scientist, I'm responsible for making technical suggestions, but as a wasteland scout, it's my job to keep these people safe. We're more than just the defenders of Vault 18, we're protectors of humanity. We promised them when they left Vault 18 decades ago that we'd never abandon them in the wastes, that our mission was to protect not just our little vault, but everybody from here. I'm the leader of that operation. I hesitated to fight an unknown enemy, and for it, 12 kids are dead. Tribe 6 and 7 were nomads. They didn't have a permanent settlement. Whatever came after them knew who they were. The Enclave is too bogged down with the NCR war to go through back to their old scheme, so it can't be them. Brotherhood couldn't care less about us. NCR wouldn't do something like this, not on purpose. We've rescued all the kids we could. Whoever is targeting us is one. It's time we draw the line where we know we can protect the vault and bunker down. And finally, Security Chief Evanson. Scouting Report 217. Union City has been invaded and successfully taken by the NCR, but it looks like we've lost the war. In our last reports, we documented the agreement Dr. Rossman reached with the slaves of Union City and the NCR Colonel, Bill Silverman. The NCR is aware of the Wasteland Scouts and our exploits. They've watched every episode, it seems, big fans of the show, or so we thought. The NCR sent prospectors to take over Vault 18. They killed Dr. Coyote and left us covering our butts. With those mercenaries chasing us back to Vault 18, we had no choice but to kill them. The NCR learned of it and branded us enemies of the state. Rossman specifically is called in for treason. They declared Vault 18 in Athens equally annexed NCR property. They stormed in and took over the ethanol fields at Union City in a 3-week battle that left the entire region a glowing mess. The survivalists under Elsdragon have made a big impression on the NCR brass. NCR thought they would be a pushover. They were wrong. Elsdragon gave ground just to suck them in, then burned his own fields under their feet. The fields are full of explosive mutant corn. Probably killed 400 NCR soldiers in 30 seconds. Death by popcorn. Nasty. As we've documented, the Great Khans, Vipers, Jackals, all the miscellaneous raider tribes with names or no names have flocked from across the wasteland to join the survivalists. The NCR has pushed them to utter desperation, enough to overcome decades of internal fighting and band together. We thought this battle was in the bag, the Raiders were finished. We were wrong. The survivalist message of freedom and isolation, of tax-free utopia and anarchy, has ironically created a grassroots movement of epic proportion. The NCR Angels swept California clean of the devils they sought to destroy, and all the demons came back to hell. Athens Tech Mine. Now they're all here on our front door. The NCR is bogged down fighting the Brotherhood now. That war may or may not go in their favor. Until that's resolved and they lick their wounds, the NCR has given up on Athens Tech. The Raiders keep growing in numbers, hunkering down. They're sweeping the valley for us, looking for revenge. Chief Evanson has called it in. We're locking down Vault 18 until further notice. We'll close the door, start raising these kids we saved from the wasteland, and that'll be it. Our adventuring days are over. Wish it was on a better note. So we now have a scouting report, but we can also look at a couple of highway pictures. And a couple of local images. Alright, and that's all the Tier 2 stuff. Now, you might think we want to run right to Kyra and tell her what we found. You'd be wrong, because we want her around as we unlock the rest of the tiers, but if we tell her now, she's going to go to bed early because it is apparently getting quite late.
Good to see you're not, wasting time or anything.
And I'm not sure where he is that he's saying that and we're hearing it, but aha. Top floor.
Yeah, kid.
And 2 new conversation options. First of all, I fixed the Tier 2 networks.
Well, that you did. Great job, kid. I'm really impressed. What did you find?
Just a bunch of security logs and data from a few years ago, stuff about the Exodites.
Well, I'll be. That's a word I haven't heard in a long time. Exodites. Damn. Leading theory is when you kids were brought up here, it was because your parents were part of the Exodus. We never found out exactly what happened to them, just that they disappeared. I hope it kept you entertained. Now go on. You had a tough day. Now you should just go off to bed now. And don't let those death claws get you from under the bed.
Yeah, well, actually, Dr. Rossman, I want to talk about being a wasteland scout.
So, you want to join the elite few? Alright, let's talk. You've managed to earn my respect with previous comments, but this is another issue entirely. If you impress me again, I'll make you a wasteland scout. So what brings you to the conclusion I need you?
Yeah, I think he's going to be dismissive of any claim that we could do a lot of good, so, be honest, I'll learn more about where I came from, me and my family.
That's a long and complicated story. Truth is, I don't know. You deserve to, and I don't have the answers. The guilt kills me every time I think about it. You're a good kid. I'd like to tell you what I do know. 16 years ago, Sergeant Norman and I were following a tribal guide through Crestline Valley. We needed rest, and he knew a town. Once we got closer, he just stopped, went pale, and readied his gun. We followed him in. The town was empty, torn to hell. The old buildings used for shelter were wrecked, tents were torn, like a tornado stormed through. Then there were all you kids, no one older than 8, scattered, hungry, confused. So I picked you up. Evanson and Norman grabbed your brother and sister, and we walked straight here. Took 2 days, and no one said a word about what we were doing. The rest is history, but I assure you, I didn't carry your ass almost 100 miles just to watch you go back out there and wind up dead. But one day, hopefully when it's safer, you'll get that chance.
And I just got the Scoutmaster perk. Wow, I had no idea we had so much history. Thank you, sir. I'll make you proud, I promise.
You betcha, kid. Later.
Alright, now for those keeping track, here's all the perks we've got so far. I chose 4 Eyes. Wearing any type of glasses, you have +1 perception. Without glasses, you have -1 perception. Nerd Superstar. Your scientist training provides increased insight into the skill books you read, giving you an extra point. You're a Nerd Superstar. Nerd Orable. You're a nerd and adorable. Gain +1 charisma and +10 speech. Scoutmaster. Fit for survival. Gain +1 perception and +10 to survival. Swift Learner. With every rank in the Swift Learner perk, you gain an additional 10% to total experience points whenever your XP is learned. The Wayseer. You seem to know things. Gain +1 perception. You wrestled with a fusion-powered coffee machine and won. And Wild Wasteland, which has not done anything interesting yet, but we're getting there. Anyway, you'll note 326 out of 550 XP. Still not to level 3 yet, but we are very slowly getting there. So next time, I think we are going to check out the robotics lab rather than try and get the computer fixed and read all the Tier 3 files, just for the change of pace. But thank you all for watching and for your patience in enduring the rather lengthy reading bits. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more action, or at least something varied next time, but please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if you are so inclined, and we will continue the post-apocalyptic shenanigans next time. Take care until then.